And I may bring back the Valtra pack that I used in the Osa family farm on Field Mountain, because I did like that pack as well. And we'll probably end up with a little Valtra A for yard work. So how's our supply? 60,000, so about 38,000 or thereabouts left in this clamp at the end of this. And that we'll only need to use the AR frame tipper, I think, to move what's left in this clamp at the end of the year. Actually middle of fall, because we're going to be harvesting the corn at the end of the year, weather permitting, forecast. So we'll get early harvest tomorrow, potentially a little bit. We got to do the grass cut on Saturday if we can. If we can't do the grass cut on Saturday, then we are going to be... we're probably only going to get one more full cut this year. So only one full cut this year. Everything else will be a smaller than average, because we're doing it when the grass isn't fully grown. I'm not sure that's a big deal, considering all those silage bales we've got over there. But and most of our big tractors are going to be out when they can, ploughing and cultivating and putting in oilseed radish for the fall, so we get some fertilization going on those fields that we do harvest now. So we'll have intermittent harvest Saturday and Sunday. Anything left over we can get back into on Monday, but that depends on whether the Sunday rainfall is towards the evening overnight, or whether it's during daylight hours. If it's overnight, then we'll lose half of Monday as well, while the crops dry out. Tuesday's bad. Wednesday we're probably not going to have anything to do except seeding and cultivating. And then Thursday's when we want to start corn and soybean harvesting, which is fortunately two different pieces of equipment. And that will be... big question mark is what's Friday next week going to look like, because that's the last day of fall. The last day we can bring all the crops in. And last year we were out until 10-11 o'clock at night harvesting on the last day of fall. That's not a good deal. How are we doing? 76% full. Still got about 20,000? No, really? So it's 1150, that's 83%. It's close to all gone. That's a good thing. going to have to pull these belts out of here, but I am going to need to leave them convenient. Just to make sure this bunker gets completely cleaned out when it's all done. I wonder if that'll scoop into the bucket. That might be the other way to do it. Which would then mean I can move the big one out of the way. Oh, truck's full. So how are we doing? We've got 43,000 litres left here. So we will live with that for now. If I can use some of the digestate up, that'll make this, the silage we have on hand, doubly useful at the BGA. At the moment I'm getting no benefit as far as digestate is concerned because we got the full 800,000 litres at the BGA and no way to use it at the moment. Woo. Ha. So I'll set this up to unload and we'll go and jump over to the other field and fertilise that, assuming the farmer hasn't done it already. Okay, that way a bit, straighten it up and be careful not to push it back. There we go. Okay, so this field here needs to be fertilised. We will do that right this minute. Oh, a Challenger with 3 metre wide tracks. Let's do that thing. Beep. So I saw announced at the Agrotechnica class are demoing a quad-track Xerion. And the reason they're having to... Can I not use that? Oh, really? I don't have a hitch that's compatible? Or is it a little bit more sensitive? Wow. That looks like it's compatible. It's not linking. Okay. Let's drive out of the field then and reset. So yeah, a quad-track Xerion. And the reason it's not TerraTrack is because the TerraTracks are designed for fixed axles. And they had to work up a new drive system for wheels that turn, and the Xerion has 4-wheel. That works, we know that works. Is that all you're going to give me? Fertilizer spreader. That we know doesn't work. That's tiny. That doesn't work. That does work. Oh, let's take that one. Now, the Axion TerraTrack was first demoed apparently 2 years ago and released to the public for the coming year. And this quad-track Xerion is basically prototype this year. However, a modder has already created a version of it. I'm not sure how good it is. I haven't looked at it. It's on a mod site that I am not particularly familiar with. And I tend to get a little bit careful about using sites I don't know too well. Okay, we'll shift that over there. Turn that on. Turn the spreader on and off we go. But it would be nice to have a tracked Xerion available. That's possible someone might release one. And because it's not an official class release this year, it's just prototype, demo type of thing. I'm not surprised that it's not officially in a class pack or anything like that. It probably won't come from Giants because it's not something that's readily available. But it would be nice to potentially see it on the Mod Hub. I remember a couple of years ago we got FarmSim 17 got the Fendt Tri-6, which is a 3-axle tractor, which has never been released into general public, but it was demoed at convention at one time. Okay. Obviously, the class Axion TerraTrack has some issues in that they've plugged all of the white lights into the reverse gear select. So when you go backwards, all of the white lights on the tractor turn on. Driving lights, main beams, work lights, everything. So that kind of needs fixed. Mind the weight, try not to leave the field. Oops. And off we go. So we should be able to do this field in its entirety now. Now, the other thing with FarmSim 17, even if it rains, we can buy this field and harvest it, because harvesting wasn't broken. Harvesting was allowed on root crops in the rain. Not particularly realistic, because you're going to sink into the mud. But it's kind of a broken aspect of FarmSim 17. FarmSim 19, you cannot harvest at all when it's raining. But root crops can be wet. That's the thing. Because you're kind of just dragging them out of the ground and then shaking all the dirt off. whereas the grains are going through a harvester, and if they're wet they can cause the thing to seize up, overheat and break stuff. So you really need dry crops for that. Maybe for Farm Sim 21 they'll implement a different what's it? Not humidity. Maybe it is humidity. So differing humidity for harvesting each crop type. So crops that need to be super dry, you have to wait longer for, than crops that you can harvest while they're wet but not too wet and not when it's raining or something like that. Because it then allows farmers to consider where they're harvesting. So in Scotland it makes sense to grow sugar beets and potatoes because you don't have to worry so much about the ground being damp when you're harvesting them, whereas corn is a big problem because corn needs to be a lot drier, and chances are that's not going to happen during your fall. Technically it should snow earlier, but I don't have a Scottish Geo for Farm Sim 17, so that's not something I can do much about. There is a Scottish Geo for Farm Sim 19. I'm not sure if I think Peterville's a Scottish farm. Oh, Growers Farm is also Scottish. I don't think that's become publicly available yet, or if it has, it's not on the mod hub, it's on a secondary modding site. Then most of the other farms are to the south, so you can get away with, I think it's the Hertfordshire Geo for farms like Greenwich, Old Oak and Marwell. Trying to think what else. Yeah. I think as real life gets a little bit more stable here, I may bring the Ose family farm back. Mrs. Ose and I have been playing Lone Oak Farm a bit, but it's kind of sporadic and we haven't got very far with it because just finding time to play, and at this time of year not really good to be streaming while she's watching football. Although her team played on Thursday, so there will be less screaming this weekend. But there might be kids in the house, so that's a thing that we have to be concerned about. Or at least factor into our joint plans. think I said last week we went to see Midway after the stream, which Mrs. Osa was a little bit apprehensive about going seeing because she's not into those sorts of movies. She said, yeah, it presented itself so that it was, yeah, it didn't put her off. Am I spreading this entire width? I did auto set the spread width. But I'm hearing good things about Ford versus Ferrari, is it? Which may be worth going to see sometime. As I said, not this weekend because we've got people coming round. At least, as I said last I heard, people coming round to pick up a crib. And actually, Midway last week, that is probably the first time I have been to the movie theatre, and there's been more than 10 people in the showing that I went to. Going to see movies is not a popular pastime, it would appear. I think a lot of people look at it and say, well, I can watch it on Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, whatever. So why do I want to go and spend $20, $40 to take the family to the movie theatre when we can sit at home in 3 to 6 months' time and watch it there? And the popcorn's cheaper and everything else. Now, I must admit, for the most part, I would agree with that sentiment. There are a few movies that are worth seeing at the theatre because they're big and you definitely benefit from the large screen. But if you're not going to see a big action movie, then, you know, watching at home on the TV is just as good. If not better, because you can pause it to make more snacks or whatever. Is that something? Okay, this is going to be a little more tricky. I have to take over manually at the bottom of this run because the non-squareness of this field is going to be an issue for where we're allowed, how far outside of the field we're allowed to go, and how well GPS copes with it. So we will get to here, we will turn that off. And we'll stay in the field boundaries by making a left turn. Turn the GPS back on and turn the spreader back on. It is nice not to have to pay for the fertilizer that you're spreading on other people's fields. Although if this was Farm Sim 19, I would be able to bring out my slurry tanks and pull some of the digestate out of the BGA, and it won't cost me anything. for the fertiliser I'm using, but I would still get paid as if I was spending money on it. Because that's how the contract system is set up. Okay. This may possibly be the last run, or we might have to do another 270-degree turn to the left. And this is also 270 CBX. Oh, we're here. Oh, just enough. Okay, that's all done too. Where were we last? We were unloading that. So that is now all done. I'll leave those there for now. Now I'm undecided where to go. I think I'll take this back to the main yard for now. So 10 o'clock in the morning. May bump up the time to times 120 once this is done. As I said, I think we're pretty much done with farm work until the harvest starts. And tomorrow we're going to need harvesters out in the field, so we may get those prepped and in position. We need to do the barley first, so I may start from the cow farm. Oh. That's the annoying thing about this truck. It has a very large wheel arch, which can get in the way on these narrow lanes, which is why if I have to use something like this on Oakfield Farm, I will probably use something like a Flegel, which has a narrower chassis. And is not going to overstress something like the MAN semi-truck. I think this can probably go in the shed up here. Oh, I think I messed that up. Oh, and again. Tell. No, that's it's not going to make it. Okay, let's... It's actually easier to use this shed from this side than it is the other, because you've got the farm track. Oof. That's now stuck on the shed. Okay. I'm going to turn it right, so steer it that way. Oh, this is a pain in the butt. What am I catching on? There's something back there that's wider than the truck. So. Okay. Well, that wasn't quite what I had in mind. Okay, let's do it this way. Lovely. Okay, that should work. But again, the long wheelbase on this truck does not help me in this regard. Okay. Hold up. Why didn't that connect? There we go. And let's try and get the wheel straight, and let's push that back a little. There we go. Lid on, so we don't end up with snow inside it on the off chance. And again, didn't disconnect. There, that worked. Okay. And truck back to the shed. Oh, excuse me. It's a little bit close to the left there. That's better. Let's try and stick that in the middle. That will do nicely. That one could have gone back further.